Expected to make it, so
Logical Raptors fanatic.
shoot trying to miss. Like every shot
Logical Raptors fanatic.
try to make it, so I was not surprised.
A fun guy. Obviously,
Logical Raptors fanatic.
love the game of basketball. I mean, it's just more question you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about.
Logical Raptors fanatic.
I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
No
Project Truth.
has contacted me, and I see all the stuff that, like, you guys see. I dream like they dream. Yeah. Yeah, I want,
Logical Raptors fanatic.
you know. Yeah, so they keep dreaming. I dream too.
Salute, real ones. Project Truth always. Mike G back here with Logical Raptors fanatic. And today we got an interesting one. Raptors Spain pipeline. So I'm going to talk about some of the influential Spanish players we've had in our system recently. One under the previous regime and the others in the Masai regime, and talk about our kind of the Raptors' relationship with the Spanish national program and go over some different things, but kind of center it around our man here, Juancho Hernangomez, aka Cruz. So acquiring of the Cruz missile connections, and we can see how things have worked over time with us and have built up now where we could acquire a guy that was the MVP of the finals game in the Eurobasket championship the summer before, and Masai kind of swooped him up for 2 million. Oh, so acquiring the cruise missile cheap in a sense too is a really good value dynamic, and I think the gold trimmed border represents a signing, and we're going to go over what he kind of brings and maybe prehistory with Raptors connections and stuff, the way we kind of went through Rico Hines. So sit back, enjoy.
I don't think Josh Jackson's up there. I don't think DJ Wilson's up there. I think Juancho is probably going to slide into here, and we're going to play him as a small forward or maybe as a center. I think the power forward position's kind of set.
Get to them all, obviously. You can see this whole page. There's not even Juancho Hernangomez, where he actually said that he used to get Vince Carter tapes, which is something reminiscent of what I said in Raptors Effect, funny enough. Like a direct confirmation of a guy from Spain that had that kind of Raptors effect. Obviously, those takes were from like the summer and stuff, and we didn't have really any tape on our man Juancho Hernangomez, aka Cruz. And so I didn't really know how Nick was going to use him. I saw that he had strong fundamentals, nothing overpowering skill wise, but could definitely play team basketball. And I think that's a really interesting thought of to see how well he's kind of fit in already. I think is a testament between the way the Raptors play and the Spanish program plays, and I want to kind of draw on some of those connections and talk about them today, make it a little interesting. Just more than, yeah, hey, yeah, we got the cruise missile, right? You know what I mean? There's more to it. There's a lot of guys in the picture. One other extra guy we'll go ahead into, but let's get into it. Okay, so you can see here I got a couple interesting former Raptors, and here are their kind of years that they were with us, right? Jose Calderon being with us for 8 years. Not some of the best years, but some playoffs with Bosch, right? So, and then obviously the after Bosch era up until the season where we made the playoffs again after the drought. He got traded just before the drought, right? And we kind of installed Lowry as our main point guard at that time to start the runs. Then we have Serge. He was here for 3 years. He came at the trade deadline, I believe, and in 2017. So similar to Gasol, but 2 years before, obviously. And then we re-signed him, and he was a piece to the championship. And we all know his Congo heritage from the Republic of Congo and his African heritage, but he's actually a dual citizen of Spain as well. And I don't know all the details around it. I think he immigrated to Spain legally to play basketball there, and that's how his visa was worked out, where Giannis had to get help from Masai to kind of get the Greek government to issue whatever, or Nigeria to kind of play ball with Greece, and you know what I mean, government politics stuff. But Siakam also has those issues as an African player as well. We saw in the bubble because Ontario was in such a strict lockdown, and the US and the Canada border was closed, and there were specific travel requirements, and Spicy P didn't have the right paperwork or status to enter the US at that time. So he was stuck in Ontario with those ridiculous, well, not ridiculous, but crazy, where everyone was locked down, locked down, locked down. So he couldn't literally dribble a ball in his like condo or anything like that. In a sense, I think there are obviously issues. He could do some body maintenance, but basketball rhythm, you have to go out and get to a court, and if everyone's supposed to be inside, it's so, you understand, that was kind of a difficult situation. So that is something that we need to be mindful of, that it's with a African kind of passport, the limitations between moving to Canada and US are kind of a little bit different. So keep that in mind. And then we have our Spanish big man here that was with us for the end of that year, 2019, and the run, and then the run it back year, plus the bubble, and then kind of we parted ways then, right? And then we have our man Cruz here, which is the centerpiece of this video in a sense, and we'll end up talking about him probably a little bit more, but the man in the middle, the linchpin to, I think, what has conveyed into a really good happening and a really good relationship between the Spanish program and the Raptors is Sergio Scurriola, a ridiculous winner. If I wanted to just make this video about him, it'd be like a Nick Nurse video, like 50-minute kind of going over all his stuff, because he's been in the league forever and he has won so much. But I do want to focus on the teams that have interesting connections. There's some interesting connections here, and I just want to kind of go through them and like talk about the kind of way that players kind of become friends, lifelong friends, and different things about that. We'll get into it, but I think it's important maybe to start with Calderon and talk about kind of our image before Masai came and the issue in getting players like this afterwards, right? These guys are top of the top in the sense of what the Spanish program has to offer, and they were willing to come to the Raptors and play their hearts out in a sense of really gave us great minutes. And obviously these two guys and him, we all three of them hit the super mountaintop for us, and were really key in that run, and Toronto getting that chip. And it was the power of the the Spanish centers, and our man on the bench. And I'll explain his role a little bit deeper, but I want to get into, like I said, some of the previous things. So when Calderon was here, and something Bosch has kind of harpened back to, it was really hard to get guys to come because the image of the Raptors were sullied so bad by Carter leaving. Because Calderon actually was there that year that Carter left, because Carter left 05, 06, I believe, right? Oh, '06, right? So he was there the whole time and he understood completely what that part of not wanting to come to Toronto was about. But here's a guy that really saw the ethnic side of and the cultural diversity of the city and absolutely loved it and really represented us and really still does and still speaks highly of the city and the team, and he understands the organization's change because he can see the failures of the years before and how much success there is now, and he's been around the team. Older players come in and out of the picture around the Raptors. They talk to the head guys, see what's up, you know what I mean? Talk to their buddies on the team that they knew that were there, right? Whoever, you know what I mean, coaches, different guys, right? And I think that's all plays into a guy when he's trying to really help guide a younger player like Juancho Hernangomez that has a lot of great skills and wants a certain type of team to be on. He can attest to a lot about the city, the fans, how they always came out, no matter how bad the team is. The fans were ravenous and just wanted like any piece of anybody that was given hard work, and that's, I think there's deep respect with feeling appreciated for something that you put so much work into, right? And I think we're going to go into this with him a little bit more and at the end, but Jose's an interesting guy. He really is. And I think he's always going to have a real solid connection with us because of the amount of years he was here. He really played a lot of years for us, played through the good times and the bad, and he can see where the team is really right now, and he knows he was a part of some of the lower times, but low times lead to success later on. Learning what it's like an inventor, you may fail 100 times, but it's like learning 99 ways not to do something and learning one way to do it, in a sense of mind think. In a sense, you can keep, as long as you keep trying to get it right. I think that's the point in the end of what players want and the purity relationship in those relationships. It only matters about getting it done and winning, in a sense. And the respect and what everything that goes into as a team sport is really like pillarized in the Raptors system. And I think in the Spanish system as well, we could see how deep the connections run, right? 211 Eurobasket gold. So similar to 11 years exactly, we're going to check out this team in a sense of, obviously, we got our man here, Sergio Scariola, on the coaching staff there, right? Then we have Calderon. He's probably more of an aged veteran at that time. Serge was a bit younger, hadn't gotten to the finals yet in 2012, 2013, right? Right? So his experience probably came a lot from here, and that helped OKC at that time, probably. You know what I mean? This is how it works. National play can enhance the experience and the development and the type of development that you get. You don't need a team to go to the finals to have a guy to kind of get some finals experience if he's playing at the national level and they're in those kinds of stakes. So it's a similar judging pestle in like a sense of the final or like Eurobasket gold. Obviously, that's probably more conference finals level, but there's a lot of different things. Obviously, you have to account for the adjustments, like I said in my Thad Young finale. There's a lot of adjustments to how points are made, the rules, and whatnot. So obviously, all that stuff has to be taken into account. But the mentality and the experience of those bright lights can really help players to be more stable in the NBA kind of deeper game, right? And we can see another guy with similar stuff, right? Marcus Gasol really did a lot for the Grizz. The Grizz never really went super deep as OKC did. They went to the conference finals and they were battling the Clips with CP. And so Grit and Grind era was a really interesting team defensive strategy. He was a great in the leadership role of commanding the defense as a team defender guy. So when Masai brought him in, he understood exactly what he brought. But him and his brother have been on these teams that have won so much. There's so much. It's ridiculous. But it's interesting how these four Raptors people connected in 211 before Masai got to the Raptors and kind of had a relationship. And Calderon maybe talked to Serge about coming to Toronto when he was with the Magic and how it was going to be. Called him up, hey, Jose, ¿cómo está? You know what I mean? Like, how's it going? And like talking to him in Spanish and they're chatting it up. You know what I mean? Hey, how's Toronto? How's the city? You're gonna love it, buddy. The food's amazing. They're a great Spanish culture representation in the city. Hey. You're gonna love it. The fashion, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. And then also Mark, hey, when he knew the Raptors were interested in trading for him and he might be coming to the Raptors, call up my boy Ibaka and my boy Calderon and see how things are going. And obviously Sergio Scariolo was on the team as well, but there's a reinforcing of what expectations are coming in, and he understands this is a team that's serious about winning a championship. This is what they've strove for so long. And Serge understands what that level is. He's been there, not at the super NBA mountaintop, but both these guys want to look to man the center position and bring us to the promised land, which they did. And then Sergio Scariolo, look at this. 20 11 years, like he has so many golds and it's ridiculous how much winning this guy's done. When they have four fingers up, it's because they've won more than one of these, right? You know what I mean? And he's a winner. And I think he's an interesting guy because I think any NBA team would love to have him come in and be the guy for them. But I think the NBA culture, all the extra crap, all the behind the scenes kind of stresses and the ego management and stuff, I think he doesn't like that part of the game and maybe thinks it's more detrimental to things. And I think Nick had that attitude early when he chose to go to Europe instead of the college route and became a European head coach. And he did some stuff with the British national team. So I'm sure Spain has played Britain and you know what I mean, like all that kind of stuff. The European national scene is kind of a little bit closer. They all play amongst each other, scrimmages. They go scout each other's players. Maybe you're going to sign a guy from the Spanish team over to your British team. You know what I mean? Like different things like that. So obviously they are familiar with each other. And he's could see that Nick, as the head guy, manning that championship boat with those type of players, he could see that this could really be something special. And he wouldn't have to be here like for 10 years to get an NBA championship. It's going to happen. It's probably going to happen this year. and he knows the strength of the roster and his skills in specific terms to what this team is. Obviously, he's a great developer, program builder. Kind of Lex said the other day that Cruz has been under his tutelage for like since he was really young. And obviously, he's probably running the youth Spanish programs, and then he has his main staple, probably Spanish Pro League and stuff. And there's a lot of dynamics. He's really ingrained, and he loves the culture he's built there, where it's about just like team basketball, team defense, rebounding, passing, shooting, defending at a high level. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that go in tandem, but he believes in the fundamentals, the pureness of the fundamentals. And he's seen that from Nick's coaching style and the way he kind of has done things over the years from talking with a guy like Serge, like in the mix because this Jose's pre Nick's time, but Serge definitely knew Nick at this point and was probably working with him to fix it kind of his three ball and kind of doing his shooting mechanics rhythm because that's what Nick's specialty is. He's a shooting coach in a sense of helping them fix their form and tinkering with their shot and like working through shot development and all that kind of stuff. He really takes the fundamentals of shooting and he wrote a book on it. Yeah, you could look into all that stuff, but I think a lot of the principles that Sergiola has for the game also in line with Nick, and I think that's an interesting thought because Rico kind of expressed the same thing about the Raptors development system where there's no changing anything. It's in line with what I am already. And I think Sergio knew that. He knew Masai. Masai's been an international scout. Masai's probably scouted Sergio's teams, talked to him about players, done good things for his players, and knows he's a good guy. And I think certain purities get you this type of guy because I think him his specialty is those deep playoff runs, making team defensive adjustments, team offensive adjustments, different things, seeing different angles of the game, maybe preempting the other team's reaction to certain things we're doing. And he has a lot of big time experience where game 7, you're going to trust what Sergio says because he's been in those one game, do or die. Everything's on the line. Country pride, everything is on the line, right? And I think that galvanized the ability and our playoff adjustments and really was one of the things that really highlight the defensive capabilities of the players on that floor were high level defensive IQ where Sergio could probably explain things to Mark command them out on the floor, and that really a strong tandem that has been really deep for a long time, obviously. And he's had Serge in there too, right? So it's like it's man, it was such a beautiful thing in those years that he was here. It's like it's unbelievable what happened. And then funny enough, after the championship, interesting enough, Bo was on that gold medal team where Mark came back for the run at season, kind of ran down a little bit, looking slim but different, and his play style changed, and it was really different and weird. A whole bunch of different things were happening, and I think just the time factor kind of hit him, but he did go out like a double gold champ in a sense, right? Look at this, man. Hit the NBA mountaintop NBA championship with his brother Ibaka, and then he goes and gets the FIBA World Cup that summer with his man Sergio as the head coach and him being as a player. And interesting enough, look who was also on that 2019, Cruz. So there is a deep connection ingrained because I think when players look back at their careers And I think winning bonds players forever, right? The point of playing basketball is to win, and those moments that you win are like more ingrained in your mind and have like a priority kind of level in your mind in a sense of great times, and those guys really understood what the mountaintop, what you were at your best in a sense of when we all won the championship. And there's kind of epicness to the relation. Like Lowry says, every man on this team is my brother now for life, right? That's the type of thing that is created through these moments of winning Eurobasket gold amongst these guys. And when they're all kind of experience, well, one guy has experience with the Raptors, and then another guy has experience with the Raptors. Two other guys buy in that are really high level and only care about kind of gold and championship in a sense, and know that that's going to be the aim and what they're going to get, right? Expectations and then results, right? So I think them in line, all these guys, because I think Bo talked about talking to all these guys about him coming to the Raptors. This all feeds into it, man. Any any like Spanish player now is gonna talk to Mark or Sergio and hey, the Raptors are interested in me. Let me know what's going on over there. How do they run things? What do they do? What do they expect? You know what I mean? And he has a really great download, and he's not really going to be giving this information away to just anyone because the guys that he coached and still have relationships with, like Fred Van Vliet, Siakam, OG, Boucher, all four of them were on that championship team. And in those years where Sergio Scariolo was on the team, he wants to see the best for him. He's not going to start giving away the secrets. So he has still added investment in our organization, and burning bridges needs to be the anti of anything we do. We need to just accept that we have a great guy in the Spanish program running it that can kind of pipeline these great fundamental guys that understand our system and kind of blend in really quickly because we've seen how well he's adjusted, and he came off taking a break after this Eurobasket gold this summer, 2022, whether he was the finals like MVP in a sense of like the finals of the MVP game where Sergio won another Eurobasket, which added to the collection, right? But interesting enough, a blast from the past, a guy that kind of got replaced by Jeremy Lin, yes, but he understands what kind of the development machine that we've built and kind of the image and the way Masai's kind of done things. He understands that it was a business move what happened to him in a sense. We needed to kind of fill that point guard replacement slot with someone with more NBA experience because the uncertainty of our guards ahead of Jeremy Lin were Fred Van or Lowry at first, injury gear prone maybe, what happens, who knows what could happen. Fred Van Vliet, injury prone, who knows what could happen. So we did need a little bit more secure guy in that third kind of point guard role in a sense. And I think he understood that decision. But I think we helped his game while he was here. We focused on being in the gym with him. He's probably a lifer, basketball lifer in the gym, working hard. The fact testaments that we let him go, 3 years ago, and then a team with no real like star in a sense of the matchup driven Eurobasket that was this league or this year where it was Luka's team versus Giannis's team versus Jokic's team, and then it ends up being like France and Spain in the finals. France with like Evan Fournier and Spain with like Juancho Hernangomez and his brother and like a bunch of guys that have been in the Spanish program but played really tight team basketball, team defense, And you could see how Bo worked in that system. And I think obviously you could see the fit. But interesting enough, Masai, while all the other GMs were on vacation, he was probably in communications with his man Sergio and maybe Gasol behind the scenes. He's retired from the NBA. He's not tampering anything anymore. And they're working, talking. Hey, Bo, you need a shooter? You need a guy that kind of like fills in, a versatile forward with a three ball that can make sound decisions, fundamental good decisions in a team basketball setting, can play team defense, rebounds, plays a bit of post defense, you know what I mean? All around versatile guy that can really fit your system. Here's the man, Bo Cruz, the Cruz missile. So before we get a little bit more deeper on the Cruz missile, we're gonna go into kind of, well, I think the G League MVP Lorenzo Brown has been talked on, but Sergio's kind of leaving hasn't been talked on. And a great knowledgeable real one, a real true Raptors fan, goes to games, really picks up on a lot of great IQ things and is really solid view of the Raptors, of a guy named G, just the letter capital G. I think everyone knows of him. He's around. He's definitely making great basketball points everywhere and doing the Project Truth stuff. But he was mentioning maybe bringing back Sergio kind of Scoriola to the Raptors at this moment and how maybe it could change. But it's interesting. Like he kind of hit on the fact that Sergio is a winning guy and does kind of influence winning and could inject some maybe different energy in the coaching staff to really shake up the team. And I understand what he's saying, but ultimately, I think Sergio's desires at this point in his career, I think, are a little bit different. I think he's seen how the fans really soured on Pascal after the bubble, kind of turned him off a little. Going to Tampa, away from Toronto, them trying to cut money. It was probably better to part ways at that time, right? I think the decision to go younger was definitely the move to go forward with relocating to Tampa. And I think Sergio, obviously at that point, would be useful to a point, but I think where he's best and most useful is in those big time moments, and I don't think we were aiming to get to those big time moments for the next couple of years. So I think it was just natural. He had a great ride. We had a fantastic 2 years, man. The scarf energy, the winning streak, and the coming back, the bring it back year, run it back year, man. Oh my. Everyone thought we were going to tank, but it's funny enough that what was being said is around the bubble is like, how serious do you take the bubble? And obviously the fans took the bubble so serious and thought Pascal was done, but management didn't and made the choice to go younger and see that we had three core players that could really move into leadership roles and become the essential core of another winning team in Siakam, Van Vliet, and OG. All the things that they did that run it back year proved to Masai management and the numbers and all that kind of stuff and what they saw from OG's game, Spicy's game, Fred Van Vliet's game, what they absorbed from that championship team was so much that it could really push into a next, like we didn't have to kind of blow it up. We could retool because we have a solid kind of core that has great chemistry that's ingrained in the stuff that we can show to the other players and kind of get them in the mix and do a lot of different things, right? But it centers around that kind of investment we've invested over time to really hammer in these regiments early so they pay dividends through the lifetime of this person's career. And to get all that goodness, sometimes you hold them either the whole time or you hold them a short time because that's where the growth upside, production, and kind of the height in a sense of where they're going to be in their game is hit. And you can utilize the different spots. So obviously, Marc Gasol is not going to be developing more. He was sliding the other way. Gasol was an interesting case. I thought they were going to re-sign him to like a 1 year championship balloon payment, but I think he did get overpaid the first 2 years and his role in the championship. He was coming off the bench and making $23 million. So you can understand that in the comprehension of the other metrics we've been talking about this year, right? Where he was a high paid player at that point. So when they offered him just over kind of what everyone else was offering, maybe he thought that was insulting and he was looking for more a long-term deal. But I think the direction, you just have to make hard choices at the end of the day. And unfortunately, that kind of maybe made things a little bit sour, but we've rekindled that relationship. And I want to go into it in housekeeping with Ibaka more. But so Sergio now, I don't think you just maybe if we have another championship assembly and we need to tap on that, tug on that string, Masai and Nick can tug on it. Hey, come for a year, see how it works out. Help us get this team the chip and see how you like it, or you know what I mean. Obviously, you have to make a salary comparable to what he's making with his other duties and stuff, and there's a whole bunch of money side stuff, right? But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, having him at a far for now is probably the best move at the moment. Have him as a conduit helping us find these right guys that can really fit around Pascal, Fred VanVleet, OG, and he's seeing Scotty come up, and he's probably continuously has a great relationship with Nick now. They're probably talking all the time and stuff. You know what I mean? If Sergio sees something, probably texts Nick, hey, da 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 da. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of familiarity with the Raptors system, and I think culturally, the Spain as people could clearly maybe see that connection, and that's why I kind of wanted to preview this all with Bo had a Raptors effect moment when he used to get Vince Carter mixtapes like slam tapes and stuff, you know what I mean? And the connection between Spain, younger generation, they probably rooted for the Raptors because Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka were on the team. So Spain was rooting for the 2019 team that won it. And you don't think that it maybe ingrained something in the younger generation's minds, like a Raptors effect that I was talking about in that video with our own Canadian generation players from this 2019 team, and anchoring maybe Spain as a longtime Raptors fan if we continue to be picking up guys like Cruz and stuff. And Japan was touching on it. So this is one part of the global aspect that Masai's building with he's linking Toronto as an international city connected to Spain, connected to Africa, connected to Japan, connected to all these different places, all from these players, and celebrating their heritage and really bringing in those type of fans from the city and feeling like they have a voice on the team and they get buy-in, and you create more fan love and kind of admiration. And it's really just a great culture building thing on a global scale. And this is what improves actually ultimately the bottom line and the projection of the team's value. If Spain is rooting for the Raptors, that increases the value and bottom line. And I think Masai, for all of the work he's done, deserves to be rewarded for the effects he's having. And these are the deep, deep effects that he's having, where we have like a pipeline now from Spain. So let's talk a little bit more about Bo Cruz now. So Bo's interesting. Obviously, I put question marks for his future because his deal is 2 years, I think, at the moment. And it was like a dip your feet in tester, kind of see how things work out. Maybe there's a longer term vision with him. I think he's fairly young still, and he has strong fundamentals to build on. It's about if we can enhance anything on him to make him a little bit more special, I think is what we're looking at in a sense of maybe making him into a great bench piece or something like that, right? 2 million right now is a small, it's changed in the bucket in a sense to try out a guy like this that has the winning pedigree from the Spanish program and stuff. And we could see moments of that oozing out where he's really solid positionally. Sometimes he's not like the best at any one thing, but all around kind of like the way we utilized Utah last year. So he's kind of more of a Utah replacement. The three ball obviously is not where he really wants it to be, but I think obviously it was interesting today in Lex's stream, the day of recording. This is Friday. We were talking about Fred Van Vliet's conversation with JJ Redick, and the this thing. It's a real basketball thing. There's like this thing when you touch the ball. It's easier to think of how you're gonna shoot it when you have the ball in your hands. So it's like if you have the ball in your hands all the time, your mind's really in tune to really shoot it at any point. So I think feel a ball helps guys to get into that mindset of shooting and get into that mode of shooting because usually you touch the ball a little bit before you shoot it, right? So I think that plays into what Fred Van Vliet was talking about. He's not looking to take the ball away from anyone. He's saying, "Okay, hey, like I used to have the ball more, and the way that things were created and run, Dwayne Casey wouldn't let the forwards run any ball up the court. So it was usually Fred Van Vliet or Lowry kind of, and Lowry kind of letting Fred Van Vliet do like the grunt work, bring it up, and then hand it off to him so Lowry could do some actions and stuff and keep the ball secured coming up the court. But now the philosophy's changed, and he's kind of shifted with that into the different roles with how the way we want to run in the team and stuff. And he's really found consistency with his shot and his touches and stuff. And last year, obviously, with the ball in his hands a lot, he got real comfortable and was dead-eyeing a lot of shots. But we saw him at that top level in a sense of where we want it to be in the playoffs, not in the regular season. And we've seen that based on his wear and tear over the years, he's only able to kind of make that magic happen in a sense for maybe half the season. So like a good deep run in a sense, right? So we want to line those things up with how he plays. But also his role is like kind of flip-flopping at the moment because of the shot creation issues because of spacing. So spacing has an effect on the ability of Pascal and OG and Scotty to create, which then forces FVV back into the playmaking role because he can play make with no space in a sense. It's weird, the different type of shots he can create and stuff, and shooters are in different rhythm because the ball's coming at different heights, right? So the way a point guard sets up your shooters has to be like a rhythmic where they like it and stuff, and sometimes having that crazy like LeBron heavy facilitator point guard having an abnormal size and passing angles throws off shooters, but then also not touching the ball a lot also increases the chance of them not really kind of hitting where they normally hit because they would normally touch the ball a little bit more in a team basketball game. We're moving the ball around. shooters are touching the ball. They're swinging it a couple times before they get a shot. So they're touching the ball, thinking about a shot, thinking about it, what it would look like. And it's more concentrated when the ball's in your hand and you're about to do it, right? So there's a lot of different stuff that kind of gets into it. And I think Fred VanVleet was just touching on that aspect. He's not looking for the ball back in a sense. He's looking to find his rhythm in this new role where he doesn't have the ball a lot, which I think he can eventually in time. It's about working through it, finding the way he can be more consistent by maybe doing some things on the bench or in warm up or conditioning his body a certain way or doing certain things on the court. There's a whole bunch of methods to fix like rhythm and finding consistency without touching the ball. And I think he's a high IQ guy that can adjust. But we've seen LeBron with certain guys that haven't been able to adjust. And Danny Green had a really bad slump with LeBron based on those issues that I talked about there, where he had a good run with us because Lowry understands those points and is a real point guard, right? So these freak athlete point guards are hit and miss sometimes with those kind of shooters connecting the connectivity of what they're used to naturally. So we have to kind of build that chemistry up. And Fred VanVleet was talking on that side of not even trying to slander Spicy P or Scotty in any way, but I think that's what's terms of what's his issue right now. He needs someone to crave for, and we saw that tandem with Malachi when he's playing that faux Fred VanVleet playmaking role. They can play off each other brilliantly. It looks smooth. Fred VanVleet looks in rhythm, hits his shots, but it's a bit different with Scotty and Pascal and OG kind of main initiators, and he's eating off them, right? It was different, so he just has to get used to it, right? I think obviously being with Pascal and understanding him and playing with him for a long time has him already being able to adjust, but now he has to adjust to OG learning to facilitate and play make because off initiation drives, if he gets trapped, he's going to be passing out to Fred VanVleet maybe in the corner for a shot because OG can't be there if he's going down court and we're using him more in a heavy offensive role. So see, that's how Fred's role was supposed to change. See, OG was supposed to move into the more action to the basket, and that's what Nick said at the start of the year. He wanted more action straight to the basket. And then Fred was supposed to be that kind of spot up corner guy, but he hasn't found his catching rhythm yet in the corner with some of our bigger passers that kind of pass and the pass comes down low instead of like a bounce pass that comes up. There's different mechanics involved in right and how you catch it and shoot it. I remember watching the behind the scenes all-star stuff of Fred. He had really an issue grabbing the ball at first, and he knew that grabbing the ball was going to be an issue with him. And I think Lowry just really knew how to set up Fred really great and utilized him to the point to where he was able to get those shooting numbers. And I think last year, obviously, him facilitating for himself and understanding Pascal and really connected with Pascal already, can play off Pascal. But OG and Scotty kind of getting more into the mix of initiating the half court offense kind of has his catching rhythm off in some of those shots where it's less effective, and it makes the kind of defense easier to collapse on those guys. So Scotty can't bully ball as much. Spicy's getting walled up. He can't slither through anything. That's the way we kind of did it, to be honest, where he couldn't slither through anything to the net, right? And then OG is kind of still working through his stuff, but he's come away. So I think Bo is definitely an interesting piece at the moment. I think he's definitely good for right now. We have to see more to know if he's right, Mr. Right for long term, right? He's Mr. Right now, but is he Mr. Right in a sense? for the team long term. So we're still testing that out. We'll see. He's definitely had moments and he's shown strong stuff. So I'm going to go into housekeeping. So definitely want to start off saluting the real ones for showing out on a longer kind of take and kind of the summation of what we've been working for with that over the last 2 months. And it's really interesting how all this stuff has really kind of culminated. And I'm definitely looking to definitely broaden the scope of what I showed there. But there will be times where I want to do something maybe more light, more thought provoking in a sense of more expandatory and just good sort of like background stuff what we're talking about, the good type of stuff, relationship, the real type of stuff that happens behind the scenes with these guys. And I think obviously all comments, likes, subs, everything has been crazy. Wow, like I'm just like blown away by like the love people have of the things I'm doing here, and just it it feels so blessed to be covering a team like this. Even though I know the fan base is kind of really in a tough time right now with the losing streak and expectations and stuff. See, last year we didn't have any expectations, so there wasn't any really like down period. But after our showing in the playoffs, people tend to have expectations, and when we don't meet them, that's where that kind of negativity comes from when they don't understand what's going on with the team or what happened. And it's just like sometimes it's fit issues, role issues, growing pains, different things internally. But it's not like personality clashes and ego stuff. It's on court stuff. You could see the problems and issues if you know what you're watching and looking for. So I think we just need to be mindful that even when players have tough times, they are still the players that were great in those other times that did do a lot for us, and we need to be mindful of that and give the benefit of the doubt to the people that have earned that, like Fred Van Vliet in his slump now has earned the benefit of the doubt that he will figure things out and that his current circumstances are very temporary on the effect of him being a long-term winning piece for us. So I think obviously now we can get to, well, the shout out Raptors Freak Nation always, Raptors Freak Lex 9:30 a.m. Eastern always talking through things, and I think it's a safe haven for people that want to be positive about the Raptors and don't have to kind of have to interact with the too much negativity. We are critical, but it's more of a positive critical. Like we support every guy. We don't tear down people to big up other players. We kind of treat everyone fairly. Like we love everyone equally in a sense, like a family aspect. And I just love all the Raptors freak people equally with that love as the player that I have for the team now, because it really is a symbiotic relationship of the pure things that I like about the game of basketball, the team aspect, fighting like as a guy, one of the guys sacrificing, learning, developing, getting better, growing, right? All these things matter to me, and I definitely wanted to represent them here, obviously. But now let's talk on the Serge Mafuzi chef. Interesting enough, another real one, a true Raptors fan that goes to games and sees observant stuff and has really great takes and is all around commenting. Cool Cat Co. I call her Killer Cat because she's really has really poignant points that really get down to the nitty gritty of things and can really kind of just illuminate things. And in a debate, I think she would be definitely like a killer in a sense of being able to kind of stop the discussion by just stating the truth because she knows it and is really knowledgeable. And don't tell anyone that women don't know basketball, because she definitely knows a lot more than like easily half the Raptors fan base. Easy, 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 if not more. I'm not trying to like rate anyone like that, but she's a great person. And actually, 2 months ago, she made this comment about Serge having a real fan base here, ethnically and internationally, and a lot of the things he does here is really interesting in a sense, because it bodes well for future guys. They saw that Serge was here for 3 years, and he's kind of like made a career in a sense with this My Fuzi Chef, How Hungry Are You? They filmed it in Canada. The main fan base for that show is Canadian fans and Raptors fans that love him and fell in love with the type of guy he is during the championship team. And us Raptors people, once we kind of bring someone into the Raptors family, we tend to ooze out and support them even when they're doing non-Raptors things. And I think that's also the power of the fan base, and that shows other players thinking about coming here and wanting to anchor a part of their career here. That look at Serge, like how long was he here? He did win the championship with us, but he's created such a strong fan base. And interesting enough, Danny Green comes back to do his podcast in Toronto often as well, because he understands he has a large fan base in Toronto as well. And even 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, and this guy has like kind of like an anchor into the Canadian market, and like the Raptors are seen very like a different than they were. They're not the Barney team anymore. They're a very serious organization. There's people like Drake involved. There's a lot of high level people that are serious about basketball and want to talk basketball. It's a real basketball organization now. Masai's really turned it from a Canadian organization into a Canadian basketball organization, and has really developed the culture out in a really great way, where we do support guys like JV. Anytime he comes back, everyone always talking about JV, wanting JV back. Obviously, he has his own issues, but maybe we'll touch on him in the mentor files, some Danny G mentor files. But then Mafuzi Chef, look, three ridiculously great mentors in a sense of what they're doing and what they've done in their careers. And it was only for a brief time, because Valanciunas got replaced by Serge at the trade deadline. So this combination of them three was only actually there for a couple months. But you could see that the love and probably connection all these guys still have from being in Toronto, how fun the city is, having great times with each other, working hard, putting in the time with each other, really being there with each other and riding those ups and downs, and really supporting each other when the downs hit and being there when the ups hit. It's about being there where the downs that make the ups so much better. And I think right now, obviously, we're in the downs, but I think the more the team sticks together, could galvanize them into like this kind of more experienced, less young team. That's how you get experience. Sometimes it's losing, but it's also a part winning too. There's two reflections. You need to understand both points of it. And I think this is just a learning process. I hope it's more temporary. We'll see. Obviously, Precious is back, and second half Precious was hitting that three ball at 38%, which kind of unlocked the rotations and had the ability for us to play like Siakam at point guard, and Scotty at guard as well, because the center could act like a fill-in in a sense of, if Precious can get hit his corner three, it could be like any guard in that position in a sense. So when you flop that guard responsibility onto Precious as the center, Scotty can attack the center. Pascal can attack the center, depending. Scotty in the dunker spot has to get guarded, so then that's how Pascal can kind of come in and just get whoever, the center or power forward, whoever's not on Scotty, right? And attack through there. And there's a guy stuck on Precious because they're not letting you shoot Precious like they said in the playoff series. Like Van Vliet said to him, Philly's not letting you shoot now because you're too good, bro. You're too good. Like so, I think there's a combination of that aspect missing with the center kind of defense. So it's interesting. We'll see how the team moves forward and how things turn around. We have definitely a lighter kind of schedule up ahead with some of the like lower comp games in a sense. Maybe we can get tuned up for the bigger comp because the defense is there, but the offense is definitely hurting at the moment. But this is all learning lessons. All these guys are learning through what doesn't work to find what does work, right? It's an inventor inventing stuff and trailblazing and being a leader in different moments in time is how you create unexpected, crazy success. And Masai understands that leading the way is how you get to the mountaintop and stay there. Being the first one to the table with a certain kind of philosophy and then locking it in early while everyone's playing catch up on you, where you have a larger advantage and a massive window based on the philosophy and what your team runs, right? Which Golden State has done, which San Antonio has done, which is the Bulls have done, which the Lakers have done in two kind of different parts with two different teams, but it's definitely something to keep in mind in a sense. But it's been a good one. Salute real ones. Project Truth always. Logical Raptors Fanatic out. Mike G. Mic drop.